Hey Spirit Lifters, good day and I hope you're doing well. In this interview, I interview Angie, a sound therapist from the United Kingdom. We discuss the process of sound therapy, the importance of sound therapy to help heal anxiety and depression, the different types of sound therapy that Angie does, and the importance of understanding our own energy as humans. So I hope you enjoy this episode, Spirit Lifters, and take care where you are. All the best. Angie, welcome to Spirit Lift.
Hello, Devin. Thank you for having me. Really happy to be here.
No, it's a pleasure, Angie, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with you in this episode of Spirit Lift. And I just want to start out. There's a statistic, and this is an approximate, okay? It's estimated that over 80% of GP appointments are now taken up with health conditions that are directly caused or exacerbated by stress. Please, Angie, tell our Spirit Lifters what you do and why sound therapy and its benefits in general can really help overcome anxiety and depression.
Okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Stress is a major cause of disease now. So things like diabetes, heart conditions, high blood pressure, to name just a few. So sound therapy really is a type of meditation. So it's the sound aids in meditation. So it's scientifically proven that, any form of meditation where you quiet the mind, becomes still, become in present moment awareness, it starts to bring your blood pressure down, it starts to bring your heart rate down, it starts to affect your autonomic nervous system. So we switch over from where we're often stuck on in stress, which is the fight or flight, and that's the sympathetic nervous system. And during meditation, we move over to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and repair, which is where our body doesn't feel threatened. It's not on high alert, so it is able to rest. It is able to repair itself, heal itself. Our cells and our body is continually rejuvenating. I think we have an entirely different skin every 7 years or something like that. But
like a snake, right?
Yeah. So we're continually kind of rejuvenating. It's not like we're just born with a body and that's it. These cells are regenerating all the time. So meditation, why sound is so powerful is that for anybody who is very stressed, they tend to be overthinkers. So they tend to be in their head a lot, very left-brained. And what the sound helps to do, because there's no particular melody or there's no particular words involved, it's just sort of tone and sound. The left-hand side of the brain tends to let go a bit, and it starts to slow down that overthinking, and your brain waves change from the kind of wide awake beta down into the more meditative alpha and theta brainwave state. And that's, again, scientifically proven to help de-stress, help you kind of relax, and bring you back into more natural balance, really.
And Angie, what kind of therapies do you do related to sound? Can you please describe as Spirit Lifters the variations of what you do?
Well, what I mainly do is I do group work. So you've probably heard of gong baths or sound baths, where people come along and they get comfy on the floor and put a blanket around them and just lie on the floor and listen while I play things like gongs and Tibetan singing bowls, crystal singing bowls. All sorts of instruments that are very good for relaxing. But it tends to work on all levels. So not only is it working on a mental level, it's working on the emotions and the physical level as well. So sound is incredible. It's so powerful. And we know this from, we listen to music to relax, classic or new age music if you want to relax. If you want to get going in the morning, we'd put something, really beaty on with a good beat, and that kind of, you start to entrain with the beat, you start to entrain with the music. So We're organic, so we respond to sound and vibration because everything is really energy, sound and vibration. So once we start to understand that and understand that the whole universe is sound and energy and vibration, then we stop kind of thinking ourselves as kind of like these robots. And start to be able to kind of entrain back into our natural resonance of nature. And that's why we feel so good when we're sat on the beach listening to the waves, you know. We start to entrain back into our natural bodily rhythms.
And Angie, I have a question related to that, because I mean, it's interesting, the different types of therapies of sound that you mentioned. Are there specific types of sound therapies for someone with high levels of anxiety or in deep states of depression? Are there different types of therapies for each issue?
Well, anxiety and depression is slightly different. So anxiety really tends to be worry about the future, whereas depression tends to be that you're stuck in the past. So any form of meditation, especially sound meditation, brings you back into present moment awareness. And when you're in present moment awareness, you're actually heart-centered rather than head-centered. So, but as far as the type of sounds to use, it does depend individually, and that's why it's good to have a one-to-one session with a therapist. The gongs, for instance, can be a bit Marmite. Some people absolutely love them and sort of float off and, you know, just in the cosmos and really love it. And yet for another person, the gong may be far too powerful, and it might bring it, because the gong starts to shift blockages and it starts to shift any suppressed emotions. So if you've had trauma or grief that you've suppressed and you've not really worked through, and this might be from years ago that you might not even be consciously aware that you're still carrying within your energy field, the gongs can really start to move that up and move that out to be healed and integrated and let go of. So I've had people that have in my group work that have had a very kind of strong effect with the gongs, because it's brought up stuff that they weren't really ready to deal with. But in a one-to-one setting, that would be more appropriate to use gongs for that kind of therapy, because you'd be talking to people, you'd find out where their trauma was, where their grief, or what their past experiences were, so you could gently bring that up and deal with those emotions as they come out. And
can you explain this? Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Angie. I'm really interested in that point. Can you explain that in a bit more detail? Because how does that work, where, like, if I suffered whatever issue as a child or whatnot, and then I do this therapy with you, and then it brings that emotion out from me, from something that happened 30 years ago, 40 years ago. How does that, can you explain that process? How does that make that happen?
Well, it comes back to everything being energy and frequency. So whatever we experience, good or bad, we carry with us in our energetic field. So if we've had trauma or grief in our life and we haven't properly gone through the process, and what I mean by going through the process is maybe you just didn't want to face something, so you just kept distracting yourself, rather than feeling the pain at the time or feeling the grief at the time. And that's fine, so some people kind of take longer to go through the process than others. But if you're the type that is completely ignoring that you've had that pain, completely ignoring that have that, and constantly distracting yourself from dealing with it, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't magically disappear. It will stay in your energy field, and it will stay in your body as energetically, and it will probably eventually, if you don't deal with it, show up as physical illness, such as cancer or tumors or hives, allergies, and all kinds of things, really. So I mean, really, with energetic medicine, with holistic medicine, and the belief is that, and this is starting to be proven by science as well, so we are really moving forward now with energy medicine, is that physical illness, or it starts in the energetic template. It starts as your emotions and your your feelings and your thoughts. And if you don't process through your emotions in a healthy way, then it can become a physical illness. For instance, I suffer from ME, and that's through years of being under constant stress. I had 6 years of being in a stressful frontline job for the NHS, and I wasn't dealing with it. I was not dealing with it, and I should have left the job long before I did. In the end, I got so ill through the ME that I had to leave. I had no choice, because I completely had burnout, and I couldn't sort of function anymore, and I had to leave the job. So, and we do get these signs and these signals, and we're very good at ignoring them. If we're honest with ourselves, we always know when we're in the wrong job or the wrong relationship or living in the wrong place. We don't. We've been taught not to listen to our intuition, not to listen to our natural inner compass. We all have that inner compass that tells us when we're doing something that's right for us, or wrong for us. And we very much try to please other people. As a society, we're programmed to please everybody else before ourselves first. We're told that that's selfish. The problem is that if you keep doing the job that you hate, or being in a relationship that brings you down, or living somewhere that just doesn't make you happy, then sooner or later these things are going to come out physically.
Absolutely. And with that, Angie, like, how do you think are these type of therapies being more incorporated with traditional medicine, or in I don't know, even in hospitals or certain clinics? Like, is there a more integral or holistic way you think that these therapies are playing a part to actually treat people now, in your opinion, or have you seen it personally?
Yes, I have, and it is getting more popular, and I think it will continue to get more popular. And as science progresses, it's getting better at measuring. So it's getting better at measuring the effects of, say, Reiki, energy healing, sound healing. So we might not understand exactly how it works yet, but we can measure that people feel better, and that their heart rate is slower, and that their brain waves are in a more healthy kind of range than before. So we've got a long way to go, but it's slowly being brought back, because this is something that the ancients knew. It was used, it's still used in Tibet, in Egypt, in ancient Greece, Native America. There's always been sound and toning and energy medicine. It's only really been the last couple of 100 years with the pharmaceutical and the industrial revolution that we've completely got away from all of the old holistic knowledge and wisdom. But I think we're starting to see a turnaround again now, and we'll start to integrate it back. If people want to look up Dr. Mitchell Gaynor, he was a pioneer. He was an oncologist, a clinical oncologist, and he was introduced to sound healing with Tibetan bowls and chanting and meditation by a patient of his who was a Tibetan monk. And he ended up being a pioneer for using Western medicine and holistic medicine like side by side. So he would use chemo and medication for his cancer patients, but alongside it, he would also ask them to do meditation, mantras, using sound healing, Tibetan bowls, listening to things like that. And he has some amazing results. So he can be found on YouTube. There's information on the net. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but the work that he started was really important and really significant. And because he was, a very high up doctor in his field, he was very well respected. So people didn't see him as kind of just woo-woo hippie.
No, and I think that's important what you're saying, like this really holistic approach to really, instead of just treating symptoms, to really actually heal the person completely, you know? And Angie, I'm interested. Could you please tell spirit lifters about this therapy that you also do called past life regression hypnotherapy?
Yeah, it's I mean it's kind of like it's a different subject from sound therapy, but it's interesting because being a sound therapist first and then moving on to past life regression and quantum healing hypnotherapy, I learned that everything is about frequency, really. So if you imagine that sort of there's not really any good or bad. There's more kind of like higher frequencies and lower frequencies. So you would say that if love was the top of the frequency ladder and fear is at the bottom, okay? So fear, you've got anger, you've got envy, you've got frustration, you know, all of those kind of lower frequencies or emotions that make you feel bad. And at the top you've got things like bliss and joy and trust and love, you know. And what it is really is just a vibrational range. It's just a different range of frequencies. So the quantum healing that I do really is about finding the energetic frequency of what you're dealing with in this life. So if I take myself as an example, I've had a lot of experiences in my life where I've felt persecuted and judged by other people. And then kind of like, for instance, I rent this house and the landlord won't allow me to do my therapy from my house. So that was very frustrating for me. You know, and it brought up this kind of like other people telling me what to do. You know, I can't do what I'd like because other people are in charge, or other people, you know, persecuting me or judging me, kind of thing. Now that I've had patterns of this come up in my life before, so it might be different people, different circumstances, but the frequency would be the same, which is feeling judged, feeling persecuted, feeling, you know, suppressed by somebody else, whether it's your boss or your, you know, narcissistic boyfriend or your best friend who was a really toxic person at the time. You know, it doesn't matter the circumstances. You'll find that there's a particular frequency to the issue, if you like, the emotional issue. So somebody else might be dealing predominantly with the frequency of abandonment, you know, so fear of being abandoned and unloved, which is very, very common.
Right.
And persecution and judgment, that's another very common theme that comes up in people's lives. And so the hypnotherapy side of my work helps you regress back. So I put you in a very, very deep, relaxed state. Mm-hmm. Like a trance state, really. The kind of state you are when you're very, very sleepy and you're almost falling asleep, but you're not actually asleep. You know, we have that.
Yeah, you're about to pass out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just before we fall asleep and just before we wake up in the morning, we have that trance-like state. And we also go into trance when we're driving along a road that we know really well. You know, go to work every day, it's the same drive. You get in the car and it's like, oh, I'm at work. It's like,
yeah, right.
How did I get here? You know, because basically you're in a trance state, your subconscious is taken over while your conscious mind is worrying about, did I turn the cooker off and what's for tea tonight? So trance is a natural state that we go in and out of. But I deliberately put you into that trance state so that we can access your subconscious, which is where we can have access to what kind of limiting beliefs you're running. You know, have you got, for instance, if you're having money worries and you're constantly poor and no matter what you do, money just slips through your fingers, there's somewhere you're probably running a limited belief that you're not worthy of having money, you're not good enough to have money, you know, or maybe money is the root to all evil. That's another, you know, common limiting belief. So we run these subconscious programs, and they're usually things that we've picked up from childhood. Between the ages of 0 and 7, we're in we're in a kind of a hypnotic state where we're just downloading programs from other people, our parents, our schools, society, culture. So we're taking on all of these beliefs and all of these rules till about the age of 7, and then it kind of becomes more fixed. So whatever you've taken in by the age of 7 is pretty much your limiting belief patterns for the rest of your life.
Right. So you do that therapy to go back and to try to confront those things to heal and get through it, right?
Yeah. Well, regression therapy will take you back to childhood. So maybe you've got a phobia of snakes, you don't know why. Maybe if you go back into childhood, we find that you had a horrible encounter with a snake that you've blocked out of your mind from when you were 5 years old, and so we can explore that, bring it forward, and then explore that in a safe way.
Oh, that's fun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with past life regression, you can go further back than that.
Right.
So it may be something that you're carrying from a past life that is affecting you in this life. And I mean, the theory of incarnation and souls, that's a whole, we haven't got time to go into that.
No, for sure. But I think it's interesting that you do that and you help confront people with that and lead them through. And I'm sure it's quite a process to do that, but it can definitely heal if confronted correctly, and it, just to conclude, Angie, I want to, for Spirit Lifters, because it's quite interesting that you deal with sound for healing, for confronting certain things internally that just need to come out so we can actually feel more free instead of this bondage of maybe angst or just general stresses we feel internally, much of the time. What would be, just for one last thing for our Spirit Lifters, what would be your message for them, just to let them know how they can maybe feel, just in a generally, a sense of peace with how they are energetically as we are? What would be your message to them? Just have peace of mind day to day.
Yeah. The really important thing is to be in present moment awareness, is to feel grounded to the earth, grounded, in your physical body right now, this moment. So you're not allowing the mind to siphon off back into the past and worry about things that happened. Can't change it. Doesn't matter how much you worry about it, you can't change the past. It's gone. Put a line under it. If you're anxious, again, your mind is going off into the future and you're worrying about things that haven't happened, so there's really no point in worrying about something that hasn't happened yet, because you don't know what the outcome is. But so being in present moment awareness is really, really important to get out of the head, which is where all your limiting beliefs and programs are running, and down into the heart center, which is your really the gateway to your soul. It's your inner knowing, your inner wisdom. We have all the answers to all of our challenges in our heart center. It's just that the ego mind will just constantly try and overanalyze and tell you that it's not possible or that wouldn't happen. So getting heart centered is really important. So any kind of mindfulness practice, any breath work, any meditation, and if you are an overthinker, if you have trouble switching the monkey mind off, then sound meditation will really help.
Thank you so much, Angie. That's so insightful and so incredible. And Spirit Lifters, I encourage you to check out all of Angie's work and even book a session with her if you're able to, because I think it's profound, and you can find more information about her, and we'll include in the video description. And Angie, we're going to include, like I just said, all your information, but where in general can people find you if they want to know more about you?
Yeah, so my website is www.sacredearthsoundtherapy.com. So that's my kind of portal gateway, so that you can find my Facebook page, my YouTube channel. You can buy MP3s of my sound healing recordings. They're on Bandcamp. They're very cheap. They're only about £6. I think that's about $8 each. You can, if you're on Bandcamp and have an account, you can listen to them 3 times before you even have to pay for them. So there's one on there called Heartlight, and that is really, really good for getting you heart-centered. So if you want to feel what it's like to be heart-centered, go and find that Heartlight meditation.
Oh, thank you, Angie. And I encourage all spirit lifters to please go and check those out. And I think this could be just a very, very incredible tool to, help our day-to-day stress and anxiety. So thank you very much, Angie. And we'll see you in the next episode, spirit lifters. Have a great day.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.